You grab a can of tuna thinking it's healthy, clean protein, low fat. But hidden beneath that label could be a toxic dose of mercury, quietly damaging your brain, heart, and nerves. Tuna is praised as a superfood, yet few people realize how 4 simple mistakes, from species to draining technique, can turn it from a health win into a long-term health risk. With mercury levels varying by species and labels hiding critical info, even light or white tuna can deliver toxic doses if you choose wrong or eat too much. The real question isn't, is tuna healthy? It's, are you buying the kind that heals, or the kind that slowly poisons your body without warning signs? Stick with me, because mistake number 3 is something even smart, health-conscious shoppers overlook. And it could be sitting in your pantry right now. Mistake number 1, not knowing the tuna species. This is what you usually do. You walk into a store, grab a can labeled tuna, toss it in your cart, and feel good about making a healthy, protein-rich choice. But this innocent-looking thing can hold something your body can't fight off. Something that doesn't taste or smell any different, but quietly builds up in your brain, your nerves, and your blood over time. The danger isn't just in the tuna itself, it's in the species of tuna. Most people have no idea that different kinds of tuna have different levels of mercury. And mercury isn't something your body just shrugs off. It sticks, it builds, it damages. But the label on the can? It doesn't exactly help. It uses vague terms like light or white, and most shoppers have no idea what species they're actually eating. So, which one's the most dangerous? And which one's the safest? Let's get into it.
Okay, so we're here at BJ's, and there is a ton of canned tuna. So which is the right one to buy? Well, first of all, anytime you're dealing with canned tuna, it's going to be very low in calories, very high in protein. So the macro is incredible. But the concern is usually mercury. You want to look for something that says light tuna. This is going to have significantly less mercury than something like the Albacore. Matter of fact, the recommendation is only to have 1 can of Albacore tuna a week, whereas you can have 3 cans of the light tuna a week. The Albacore also has more calories, but that's not really a concern because the calories are primarily coming from monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, which are healthy for you. So the major reason that you're picking light tuna, it's simply because of the mercury level.
It's the most common and usually just called tuna or chunk light. Mercury level? Low, about 0.12 parts per million. That's your safest bet. Then there's yellowfin, often also called light tuna, but this one's sneaky. It has more mercury, about 0.35 ppm. You can eat it, but not too often. And then comes the real problem, albacore. That's the one labeled white tuna. It sounds fancy, it looks light and clean, but it has about 0.36 ppm of mercury. That's still among the highest levels. But here's the catch. The label doesn't always say albacore. Sometimes it just says white tuna. And that's where most people fall into the trap. You might think you're choosing quality when you're actually choosing the riskiest option on the shelf. Choosing the wrong tuna species is dangerous. But even the label wording hides traps most shoppers miss. Mistake number 2, ignoring labels completely.
If you buy canned tuna, here's what the labels are actually telling you.
Non-GMO is a great one to look for. That means that there's no genetically modified broths or fillers in your tuna. This seal is only given to this brand, but it means that the tuna's mercury testing can be trusted by expecting moms. Dolphin-safe and turtle-safe claims can be common on tuna cans, but does not always mean that it's sustainable. So, this MSC certification is another great one to look for. That means that this fish is sourced from certified sustainable fisheries that help protect the marine life for the future.
Most people grab a can of tuna, see the words light or white, and toss it in the cart without a second thought. Seems harmless, feels healthy. But what nobody tells you is that these labels are not straight with you. They're hiding what's actually inside the can. And it's not just about the fish. It's about the kind of fish, because not all tuna are the same, and not all of them are safe. So, what exactly are they hiding behind those simple words? When you see light tuna, it's supposed to mean it's lower in mercury, but it doesn't always. Light could mean skipjack, which is the safer one, or it could mean yellowfin, or even big eye. These other types, they have way more mercury. White tuna? That's usually albacore, which is even worse, loaded with mercury compared to skipjack. The shocking part is, unless the label clearly says skipjack, you're basically playing roulette with your health every time you open a can. But that's just one part of the trap. Because even if you pick the safe kind, there's something else people don't realize. You might think, okay, I'll just buy the ones that say Skipjack on the front. Problem solved. Not so fast. Even Skipjack isn't a free pass, because mercury doesn't just vanish after you eat it. It sits there, stacking up in your body little by little. The more often you eat it, the more it builds up. Especially in your brain and nervous system, that's when the real trouble starts. You won't feel a thing until it's too late. But now the real question pops up. How much tuna is actually too much? Turns out, it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. It depends on your body weight, your age, and how much seafood you're eating overall. Some guidelines say 1 can of skipjack a week is fine for most adults. Push it to 2 or 3? Now you're stepping into the danger zone without even realizing it. And what about kids? Pregnant women? Their limits are way lower, but barely anyone stops to figure this out. They just trust the front label, thinking light or white means healthy, and that's where it all starts going wrong. So, label tricks cost you health, but even safe tuna can hurt you if you eat it too often. Let's check how much is too much. Mistake number 3. Eating too much tuna per week. Even the healthiest looking tuna, the kind doctors praise for being high in protein and low in fat, hides something dangerous, something you can't see, smell, or taste. It doesn't make you sick immediately. It doesn't upset your stomach. In fact, you might feel just fine after eating it for now. That's exactly what makes it more dangerous. So, what is it that's quietly sitting inside your tuna can? Mercury, a heavy metal that creeps into your system every time you eat fish, especially bigger fish like tuna. And here's where it gets serious. Mercury doesn't just pass through your body like other toxins. It stays. It sticks to your tissues. It builds up in your brain, your kidneys, even your nerves. And it doesn't leave quickly. The more tuna you eat, the more it piles up inside you. But how much is too much? That's the scary part. You don't need to eat tuna every day for mercury to cause problems. For healthy adults, the limit is just 2 servings a week. That's about 8 ounces in total. For pregnant women or kids, it drops to 1 small serving a week. That's it. Go beyond that, and you're risking memory loss, tremors, and long-term nerve damage, the kind that sneaks up without warning. But even if you eat the right amount, you could still be doing it wrong. It happens the moment you open the can. Most people drain the liquid, but how you do it could change everything. Yes, even healthy tuna turns toxic if you eat too much, but draining your can wrong can make it worse too. Here's why. Mistake number 4, not draining tuna properly.
Why did nobody tell me they make a strainer just for tuna cans? So I was always taught that you open up the can of tuna and then you make a giant mess by just pressing down this metal lid into the can and squeezing out as much juice. But now my life is infinitely easier because I have this thing that's made specifically for tuna cans. All you do is just press it into the can, dump all the juice out.
How you drain that can could be the difference between safer eating and slowly loading your body with a toxic heavy metal. Mercury isn't just some invisible thing floating in the fish. It actually has a preference. In oil-packed tuna, mercury mainly stays in meat. So when you drain that oil out properly, like really shake it, press it, and let it drain completely, you're actually almost none of the mercury with that extra oil drain. And yet, here's the question that stumps people. If oil-packed tuna lets you drain mercury away, why do so many think water-packed is the healthier choice? Water-packed tuna can carry similar mercury, stored in another form subtly. It's not in the liquid, it's in the meat. Studies have shown that when tuna is packed in water, the mercury isn't floating in the water. It bonds with the fish muscle itself. So even if you drain the water completely, shake it, press it, do all the tricks, the mercury's still there. It doesn't wash out. That means all that careful draining does almost nothing. So then, what's safer to eat? The tuna where mercury hides in the oil, or the one where it's stuck inside the meat? The answer seems obvious now. Oil-packed gives you the power to get rid of more mercury if you drain it thoroughly. Now that we know species-based choice matters most for mercury, what if you don't drain it properly? What happens then? If you only lightly drain oil-packed tuna, the fat left behind can hold on to mercury. So the real safety issue isn't just which tuna you buy, but how thoroughly you drain it. But which is really better, oil-packed or water-packed tuna? Let's settle it. Water versus oil-packed tuna. which is safer? With water-packed tuna, the mercury tends to stay in the meat even after draining the liquid. You might think that draining the water means you're getting rid of all the bad stuff, but unfortunately, that's not the case. The mercury gets absorbed into the fish's meat, and since water doesn't pull it out, it remains there. This is a real issue, especially for those who eat tuna regularly. Now, let's take a look at the oil-packed tuna. You might be thinking it's the opposite, that it's the worst choice because of all that extra fat and calories. It sounds like the health-conscious person's worst nightmare, right? But surprisingly, oil-packed tuna has a big advantage over the water-packed version. Research shows that the mercury levels in oil-packed tuna are about the same, because species choice matters far more than packing style for mercury content overall. So, which one should you choose? The safer bet when it comes to mercury is choosing low mercury species such as skipjack, regardless of oil or water. So just choose skipjack tuna and vary your fish intake. Other smart tuna safety tips. When it comes to tuna, variety matters. Mixing it with other low mercury fish like sardines or salmon helps balance your diet. Rotating tuna with other low mercury fish like sardines and salmon is a smart way to reduce the risk of mercury buildup. It ensures variety and keeps your meals healthy. When choosing canned tuna, always opt for BPA-free cans to avoid exposure to harmful chemicals that can leach into your food. For an extra boost to your health, combine tuna with fresh greens, a splash of lemon, and a bit of olive oil. This enhances detox and adds essential nutrients. These tips are simple, but they work wonders. The next step? Learning which brands are the best makes your tuna shopping much easier. Top safer tuna brands. In the case of tuna, some brands can pack dangerous amounts of mercury. So, what makes certain brands safer than others?
When you're out shopping around, you've probably seen a ton of different tuna options. So what in the world is different? The first biggest difference is that not every single tuna brand tests their fish for mercury. There's only one brand that strictly tests all of their tuna and salmon for mercury and tests every harvest of their mackerel, sardines, and trout for mercury as well. It's this one right here. On average, every can of safe catch tuna is 25 times lower in mercury than any other brand. And their salmon products are up to 50 times less mercury than any other brand. The second biggest difference is not every brand cooks their tuna the same. Other brands will see additives in there like broths, phosphates. With safe catch, you're just getting pure tuna. The way many brands pack their seafood is to pack their cans with already cooked tuna, then fill it with an additive to make it moist again, and then cook it again. This process loses a ton of its nutrients. With Safe Catch, they pack their products with raw sashimi grade seafood and slow cook it one time in the fish's natural oil. This process actually retains more nutrients than the other brands. So with Safe Catch, don't drain the liquid, just mix it together with the seafood to get the most health benefits.
Wild Planet is one of the top contenders. Their skipjack tuna is caught sustainably and tested for low mercury levels. But that's just the beginning. What about mercury testing? Safe Catch takes things a step further by testing each fish individually. They don't just assume. It's a guarantee that their tuna is low in mercury. Even with these precautions, there's still a need for caution. American tuna uses pole-caught tuna, which tends to have lower mercury levels compared to other methods. Still, could these methods change? You need to check the details, always. The final question. Are we truly safe with these brands, or is there more we're missing when it comes to what's in the can? What mercury does to your brain. So, let's talk about mercury only. Mercury is slowly damaging your brain, and you might not even realize it.
Now we're going to have a look at a couple of neurotoxins. One is mercury. A neurotoxin is a brain poison. Where can we be exposed to mercury? In the silver fillings in the teeth? If you have silver fillings in your teeth, my suggestion is find a biological dentist and start having them removed. Because one of the problems with mercury, being a neurotoxin is a very big problem, kills the brain cells, can eat away at that myelin sheath. And when that myelin sheath is 3/4 eaten away, there's your multiple sclerosis. But another problem is that it's bioaccumulative. That means if the longer it's in your mouth, the more it is accumulating in your tissues. And that's why the bigger the fish, the higher the concentration of mercury. So there's two places there. There's fish, there's the mercury fillings, but also in many of the vaccines.
It's sneaky, building up in your system over time. You start forgetting things, feeling foggy, and finding it harder to focus, but what's really happening? Well, mercury is quietly destroying brain cells, little by little, until one day the effects can no longer be ignored. It messes with your memory, causing gaps you can't explain, and it doesn't stop there. The brain fog makes it feel like you're in a mental haze, and that's just the beginning. As it continues, mercury starts causing issues with your heart, something you probably didn't expect. It's all connected, but the damage is happening silently. By the time you realize what's going on, it's deep, and recovery feels impossible. But why does it do this? What's really going on inside your brain? And how much worse can it get before it's too late? 30-Day Tuna Safety Challenge. The 30-Day Tuna Safety Challenge is about ensuring that your tuna consumption is safe and balanced. Start by only buying Skipjack tuna or brands that have been tested for safety. Avoid any tuna that doesn't guarantee low mercury levels. Limit yourself to a maximum of 2 servings a week to reduce the risk of mercury buildup. If you're using oil-packed tuna, make sure to drain it well before eating. This helps cut down on excess oil. It's also a good idea to rotate your tuna meals with other low-mercury fish options to keep things healthy. Lastly, track your meals each week to make sure you're sticking to the plan. By the end of this challenge, you'll feel confident about your tuna choices and have a clearer idea of how to enjoy it safely. Remember, tuna can be healthy, or a ticking time bomb for your brain. Make the right choices today to protect your memory, your energy, and your future. What kind of tuna do you usually buy? Drop your answer below, and don't forget to tag someone who loves tuna but needs this warning.